Hello, newcomers or entrustees. Let us together discover new war events tied to ancient India, the Hittites, or even ancient Egyptians. Don't hesitate to promote this channel by all means around you to make this whole adventure wilder. We have now reached 1750 BC. It is the time of the disappearing of the unfortunate Indus civilization in northwest India, supplanted by the Aryans come from the northwest, and possibly already fighting and conquering with war chariots. We've said in a previous video that the Indus civilization used bronze and built walls around their populous cities. But without deciphered writings of the time, we unfortunately cannot know much more of the art of warfare back then in this region of the world. Here you can see a chariot, not designed for war though, of the end of this Indus civilization. Around the same time in nowadays Syria, Amuru back then, Aban, the king of the city of Aleppo, destroys the city of Eridu, located a little bit north of Aleppo, because of a revolt of its governor Zitradu. The problem is that Eridu was the property of Aban's brother Yarimlim, and so, to compensate for that loss, Aban gives the city of Alala to Yarimlim. That's settled. Yarimlim will in the end take his brother's succession as King Yarimlim II of Aleppo and Yamkad in 30 years or so. To finish off with 1750 BC, we see Piyushti, the king of Hatti in Anatolia, modern Turkey, failing to take the city of Shalampa. In retaliation, Anita of Kusara and Kanesh, who owns Shalampa, counterattacks and, after a long siege ending on a night assault, destroys Piyushti's capital, Hattusa. His victory is short-lived, though, as either Hurrians from the east or Zalpa from the north will destroy Kanesh. On the other hand, we will soon see the land of Hatti recover and become the Hittite Empire. Let's jump to 1741 BC now. In southern Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in nowadays Iraq, Rimsin II declares himself king of the city of Larsa, and also of Ur and Uruk, defying King Shamshi-Iluna of Babylon, son of late Hammurabi. An economical crisis triggering riots in Uruk and the Kassite attack on eastern Babylon, although repulsed, probably helped Rimsin II. But let's say he didn't last very long. As soon as 1740, Shamshi-Iluna the Amorite brings Uruk and another turbulent Isin back into Babylon's obedience. In other cities, Kish, Mabinipur, and Sipar, all in the same region, Shamshi-Iluna reinforces the defenses just in case. 2 years later, the king of Babylon also quells a rebellion of Eshnuna over here and builds a fortress, Dur Samsu Iluna, on the Diyala River next to the city. It seems that he immediately marches north afterwards to submit the land of Apum, where he destroys the capital Shekna in the Kabur River Valley. And then in 1736 is the time of Rimsin II of Larsa's downfall. After a possible victory near Kish, still here, Shamshi-Iluna goes on devastating Ur, Uruk, and Larsa, where Rimsin II dies in his very palace. The sacked cities will possibly need centuries to fully recover from the blow. But in 1732 BC, one Iluna Ilum claims himself king of the Sealand, south of there. The name Sealand comes from the fact that before, this region was part of the Persian Gulf, which receded century after century. That is too much for Shamshi-Iluna of Babylon, who recognizes Iluna Ilum's claim. As Shamshi is struggling to maintain the rest of his possessions, it is possible that Ilum will make Isin the center of his Sealand kingdom in the coming decades. To illustrate Shamshi Iluna difficulties, we see one Ani or Iluna emancipating in Eshnuna in 1727 and even daring to try an attack against Babylon. What an insane move! He is repulsed, and Eshnuna will soon be brought back into the Babylonians' fold. Let's move westward towards Levant, Canaan back then. Possible taking in 1725 BC of the coastal city of Byblos, so far under both Egyptian and Amorite influence, by the Hyksos, these Semitic or Caucasian barbarians we met 2 videos ago. The Hyksos probably temporarily held Damascus at some point too. Here is some spearhead of the time discovered in the Canaanite city of Lachish. But of course, the Hyksos are mostly known for their invasion of ancient Egypt. Some believe that they could have taken Avaris, the future Tanis, maybe, in the northeast of the delta of the Nile as soon as 1720 BC, building a fortress there. Egypt is weak, the upcoming 13th dynasty seeing 2 rival kings or pharaohs contesting each other after some revolts in the delta. More on the Hyksos later in this video. In the meantime, between 1720 and 1700 BC reigns Yarimlim II of Aleppo and Yamkad. He extends his influence over Urkesh and Nagar in these environs, near the Kabur River, and maybe also Carchemish to the north and Katna to the south. Hey, what about Shamshi Iluna of Babylon now? Well, the Amorite king is dead. Sorry. He recently had to deal with an attack of King Kutir Nahunte I of Elam in nowadays Iran, who came to him and defeated him near Uruk city again, devastated. Moreover, a civil war occurred in his northern possessions in Assyria, a vassal land where one Adasi will eventually rise to power, free of any Babylonian control. In 1708 BC, Ebisum, the new Amorite king of Babylon, son of the defunct, repulses a Kushite attack. He then, sometime later, fails in preventing the king of the Sealand, over here, remember, Iluna Ilum, from progressing northward by way of the Tigris River. He tried to block and capture him by building a dam, but it didn't work out. As a consequence, until the end of his reign, Ebistum will lose more land. At the dawn of a new century, Eshnuna revolts one last time against Babylon. The leader of the insurrection, Ahushina, is defeated. While this time in Aleppo and Yamkad, Nikmepa succeeds to his father, Yarimlin II. Nikmepa will assuredly take control of Carchemish east of Aleppo and will reign about 20 years. A while later, in 1684 BC, Ebisum's son, Amiditana, takes his turn at ruling Babylonia. His 40 years long reign will see him retake some recently lost possessions like Der, eastward in this region, and Isin, possibly from the Sealand of Iluna Ilum. Amiditana destroyed Isin's fortifications and reinforced those of Babylon. Now, Labarna I, considered as the first actual Hittite king, comes to power in 1680. His father-in-law, Pusarumas, whom he succeeded to, was the first king of Kusara. Lubarna I has to tame a rebellion of his brother-in-law, Papaldilma. From Kusara, he then takes control of almost all of Anatolia, fighting Hurrians from rising Mitanni, over here, and the kingdom of Kitzuwatna in the south. Here is the ominous Lion Gate of Hattusa, future capital of the Hittite Empire. Yes, back then there were still lions in Anatolia and even in Greece. So, around the same time, Ir-Kaptum rises to the throne of Aleppo and Yamkad after his father Nikmepa. Before the middle mark of this century, Ir-Kaptum campaigns east of the Euphrates against rebellious Hurrian vassals in the region of Nashtabi, so somewhere east of the Euphrates River. He must also mediate to establish a peace between his vassals of Alala, maybe Amitakum, and King Semuma of the Apiru nomads. 1675, let's talk some more about the Hyksos. Allied with nomads, they now vastly extend their grasp from northern Egypt to much more of this weakened land. Memphis falls before 1650, and it seems their pharaoh Salitis moves his capital from Avaris to here. The Egyptian 14th dynasty is extinct, the Hyksos 15th now dominating. It will dominate the Egyptian 16th and 17th, established southward in Thebes. As was stated earlier, the Hyksos are believed to have introduced horses and war chariots in Egypt. It seems that the bronze bit dates back to these environs. Okay, now we too have a serious bit ahead of us. The agitated reign of Hattusili I, nephew of Labarna I and master of what he then claims the Hittite Empire. After defeating a rival pretender from Arena near Hattusa, the new capital, he starts a series of yearly campaigns. We will hear rapid fire through them. But don't be surprised, the next video will start back slightly after 1650 BC to see what happened elsewhere in the world during these Hittites campaigns. So on his first year of reign, Hattusili I besieges and destroys Zalpa, northward, after a possible setback against the city of Shanawita. The next year, his war chariots descend upon Amuru, nowadays Syria, taking Alala from King Anitakum, then Urshu or Wasuwa on the Euphrates, and Carchemish, which is destroyed despite Yarimlim III of Yamkad's support. On the way back to Anatolia, uncertain Ikakali and Tashiniya are taken too. The third year, Arzawa, westward, is attacked, but its capital, Apasa, resists. Revolts and attacks from Hurrians, supported by Yarimlin III in eastern Anatolia, force Hattusili to retake Nenasa, which surrenders, and one Ulma, which is destroyed over there. The following year, Hattusili leads a 6-month campaign north to destroy seditious Shanawita, then take Parmana, leader of a rebel coalition, and Alaka, so all of them in northern Anatolia. On the 5th year, back in Syria, Amuru, Zaruna is sacked and a battle is given near Hasuwa. Here, Hattusili's army is opposed to Hasuwa's, the Hurrian city backed by several thousands of men and 100 chariots sent by Yarimlin III under generals Zukrasi and Zaludis. The allied forces are beaten, Hasuwa destroyed, like Zipasna and Hahum, the latter despite 3 successive encounters with Hurrian and Yamkat forces in its vicinity. The kingdom of Yarimlim III itself suffers, the minor place of Tawanaga being destroyed, its king executed. Probably a little bit tired, Hattusili rides back to Hattusa after that. But the following year, he's back at it again against both Arzawa westward and Aleppo eastward. Past this point, sources become hazy. Hattusili I still having over 20 years of reign ahead of him, he briefly controls Arzawa, gets seriously injured during a siege of Aleppo, where Yarimlim III will submit without the city being stormed, and finally he'll defend, dying, his throne against an uprising led by his son Hudziya and his nephew Labarnas. What a life! Let's end by saying that Yarimlin III of Aleppo and Yamkad, for his part, having a long reign too, scores successes against Katna, southward, but leaves a weakening kingdom to his son Hammurabi III. Heavy as usual, and guess what? This will get better and better. In the next video, we'll see a focus on war chariots and the Egyptian rebellion against the Hyksos. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and to promote this channel around you by any means necessary. Signing out. Bye bye.